How's it going? Hey Amanda, hey Avery. Hey Ray. How's it going for everybody? Happy anniversary. Oh, thank you. It is our anniversary. It's true. It's true. It's true. It's true. Good morning, Jen. Jen, did you get my Venmo for the clay? I think I sent it, right? If I didn't, you know it's by accident that I didn't, not because I didn't want to. I think I did. I know, right? Thank you, Ray. She does. She wants the limelight. I did get it. Okay, I did do it. Phew. I couldn't remember. I was like, did I send it or did I not send it? Good morning, good morning. Oh, you're totally welcome. Don't even stress. I owed it to you. How was your trip? It was good. There were parts of it that were stressful, but most of all, there was no happen in here. That was funny. I went to pour it out, and it was 3 little tiny drips. So yeah, there were parts of the trip that were stressful, but mostly it was great. Let me say thanks to Jen, the slime feed is next week. Oh my gosh, that's amazing. You guys together, like I owe you guys so much. The two of you have done immense things for me between play and spreadsheets and everything else. It's unreasonable how good you guys are to me. So let me tell you one thing about the trip that I would say is like, if I had known how stiflingly hot and no rain it was going to be, it was supposed to rain while we were there, and I thought that would break the heat and humidity. It didn't rain, and having a very small baby in that kind of heat, especially one that is this white, not great. Not great. It's an insight into my brain. I love that. I love your brain. Your brain does things that mine could never hope to do. So baby wearing in the heat is a special kind of scary, you know, because like they obviously get hot being on you. So I could only wear her in the ring sling, not this one, this one's thicker, the thinner ring sling, pretty much the whole time, because all the other carriers were just too hot for her, not for me, you know. I didn't want it to overheat. We also had to be very vigilant about covering her up, making sure she was never in direct sunlight, keeping a fan on her at all times. You see some of the pictures I have, I basically was like holding a fan on her like this with a little hat over her head the whole time. So that part was stressful, you know. Epcot is definitely the best park for a baby this age in the heat. Hey, Stephanie, good morning. And the reason I say that is that Epcot has the most beautiful indoor things that you can like jump from shaded air-conditioned place to shaded air-conditioned place with a little one, as opposed to like Magic Kingdom. It's real hard. It's real hard. See, at Disneyland, you can walk through the stores and they're all connected like this. They're not connected all the way down Main Street at Disney World. So you have to go out and back in. Disneyland, we don't have that. Hey Nicole, I know. I also miss my friend Kaylee. I missed so many people while I was there. Hey Nicole. Sorry, I said that twice because there's 2 Nicoles. It sounds like I just didn't know what I was talking about. But anyway, yeah, that is the whole situation with babies in Florida. The thing is, our in-laws, or, you know, my in-laws, my husband's brother and his wife and their kids, they handled it really well. I know she tries to be they handled it much better, but that's because they live there, and so those kids are used to the heat. She is not used to the heat, because how could she be? You know what I'm saying? Can you not kick out your seat while mommy has milk in her hand and she's trying to cover your face at the same time? How can mommy do it? How can mommy do it? Ooh. She's very interested in what's going on always. She's a very, very FOMO baby. Very interested. in all the things. Very, very interested. She wants to be perceived, which is funny because she never wanted to be perceived by the ultrasounds. She always hid from the Doppler. I was just talking to a friend of mine who's pregnant right now, and she was saying her baby hides from the Doppler, and I was like, same. My baby also hid from the Doppler. How am I going to hold all this? There we go. We got it. We are TIRED. I know, they need the overlay. Took 5 minutes to get it. That's what my friend was saying too about her baby. Ours didn't have that. She never took that long to get that, but she did run from the Doppler for sure. The doctor always laughed about that. But now that I'm hearing how much y'all's babies are running from it, maybe this baby doesn't run from it. I'm gonna turn on another light. My oldest wouldn't stop kicking, so he couldn't figure it out. That's really funny. It's kind of a gloomy day, so I turned on a light over by the reading chair so that we can see. Do you have any interior replacement? My daughter had that. I was like, oh, you had interior replacement, Amanda, with one of yours? I know you're sleepy. Why don't you just give into it and take a nap? What do you think? You need it. You need it. You need it. You need it. Yes, you do. You need a nap. Posterior, she just loves to flip and kick. She's a karate kid. That's funny. I think that's pretty funny. My niece Zoe, who you all know and funny. My niece Zoe, who you all know and love, does Taekwondo with her cousins on the other side every week. That's like her activity, and she loves it. She also is routinely the most well-behaved kid, and we know that because the most well-behaved kid gets to lead the I know, right? It's like you don't have to suffocate yourself. You can just go to sleep. I know. Everybody was kung fu fighting, but Zoe gets to lead the group in their like closing thing that they do every time, and if you lead, it means you were the most well-behaved kid of the day. And Zoe has done it multiple times. I'm just trying to clean the bottom of this cup. Did you share your daughter's name? I didn't. No, I'm sorry. We just call her Jasmine on here. That's her fake internet name, because it is, well, was her favorite princess when she was in the womb. Now Rapunzel's her favorite princess outside the womb. And that's because Rapunzel was really good to her this week. She was really fun. Really fun. Right? Did you have fun talking to Rapunzel? Did you have fun talking to Rapunzel? Rapunzel played peekaboo and stuck her tongue out at you. Wow, what a gem. Rapunzel was great. They were all great. Or Secret Baby, yes, of course. No, it's not a rude question. That's fine. You don't have to be sorry. She is our princess. I know, it's true. Her favorite princess will change, but to us, she'll always be Jasmine. I agree. What a cute way of putting it. Yeah, the princesses loved her. It was so cute. I wish you guys could see how they actually, maybe I'll post a video where I block her face and show you guys how the princesses reacted to her. Whoa, we're slipping and sliding. That was something else. We did have fun, Brooke. We did have fun. Do you mind if I ask why you block her face? For safety. Yeah, for safety reasons entirely. And well, also for her own autonomy. So she's so little, she doesn't have the ability to give permission to put herself online. This is her life, and I don't want to give her a digital footprint that she didn't ask for, you know, and also for safety. it's really important to me that she have her own autonomy and that she get to choose things for herself. The back of her head doesn't matter. Back of baby's heads pretty much all look the same. So like, you don't know anything about her from that. You know what I mean? Yeah. Oh, don't worry, we will, Sloth, we will. But then also, you know, there's so much unknown out there, you know. When she's older and she can make the choice about her own face, then she can choose to put it online if she wants to. But right now she's too young and she doesn't know what it means. You know what I mean? We don't put any of my nieces or nephews online or anything like that. Better safe than sorry. And she loves to talk to you guys. She's a big fan of talking to you guys. And some people might wonder why we use my niece and nephew's names, but not her name. The reason is y'all don't know, no one knows my niece and nephew's last name, so there's no way they could look them up to find her, you know what I mean? When she's older, will you show her face if she wants to? When she's like an older teenager, she can make that choice, yeah, but not when she's like 5, no, because 5-year-olds don't understand like the consequences of it, like, so my niece Zoe, who we were just talking about, she's so funny. She watches Aunt Sasha on all the things, you know, and she tries to mimic like the type of things that I do, and you can tell she really, really wants to make videos, but like she doesn't understand the consequences of it, you know what I mean? So we just let her do them for the family, and that's pretty much it. She always goes, "Hi everybody, it's me, Zoe. Welcome to my channel." It's terrible. Honey, I know you're tired. I know. Should we stand up so that you can take a nappy nap? Okay, hold on. Hold on. Mommy has a new tripod she's trying to figure out. Give Mommy a second to figure it out. Yeah, give Mommy a second. Mommy's gonna figure out this new tripod because Mommy broke the old tripod. It's crazy how creepy people are on the internet. It's true. People are creepy on the internet. Yeah. Okay. Okay. You can relax, yeah. People are creepy. We are fighting sleep, yes. Very, very much so. We are fighting sleep very much. So we're just gonna rock for a second. Yeah, and then we're gonna read, huh? We're gonna read our book. Yes, yes, yes. Yes, yes, yes. Did you guys, I don't know if any of you saw this morning, I posted my May reading wrap up, even though it's 12 days late. In May, I read less books in the month than I have read in years. It's ridiculous. It's like this fake saying, please. I know, it's so funny. It's so funny, Christy. Zoe's almost 5, so they're almost the same age. She always says, you know what Zoe says when she's doing it? Christy, you should tell him this and see if he takes it on. She says, if you want to look up my channel, you just say Zoey. And Becca's daughter Ellie typed Zoey into Becca's phone to try to find more because we sent the video to them too because the girls know each other. I'm in such a slump. I've only finished 1 book this month. Yeah, I haven't finished any this month, Avery. It's bad. It's bad. I just haven't had the time or the wherewithal. If you want to find more of my videos, just search my name. It's Zoey. It's cute that the little girls love each other, you know? They're gonna see each other again in August, which is very fun. So anyway, it's sweet. It is, it's adorable. Adorable. I've been all audiobooks and it'll book club for me. Yeah, I just, like Blippi, probably. That's probably where she got it, because I don't spell my name. I don't go like, hey, look me up on SASHA. Jay is 7 and pretends to be a video game streamer all the time. He wants to be the Nick Ryan. So that's funny. Everyone searches it, right? Yeah. I mean, she's the only Zoe. That's right. That's right. What was I going to say? I had something that I was going to tell you guys, and now I can't remember. I don't know. My nephew asked me if I was going to his game, and I was like, do you want me to? And he was like, yeah. Oh, what kind of game? What sport does he play? He's the one who's graduating, right? That's so precious. Audiobooks, that's what I was going to tell you. I just haven't even been able to get through those because she's not doing her normal, like, 2-hour length naps. So I used to listen. What I would do was, like, I'd wrap her on me, like I do, and she would sleep. Can you guys tell I haven't slept? She would sleep for, like, 2-hour stretches, so I would just put one earbud in and listen so I could still hear her breathing and everything, and I would just do my work, listening to an audiobook, and holding her, you know what I mean? But she's only sleeping in like little tiny bursts, so it's not working. unfortunately. That's adorable. Zoe needs her. She does. Needs a private YouTube channel for her family and friends. There's another nephew plays people. A little one. Have you read For Whom the Bell Tolls? No, I haven't. I haven't. And I will tell you why. Generally, the modernists, which is the area that falls into, are not my fave, but I'm open to giving it a try. I've been slacking myself this month on both audio and reading. Yeah, big time. Balancing and rebalancing. That's right. Balancing and rebalancing. She's getting through her sleep regression. We're working on it, and then we'll go back to our normally scheduled life, right? But at least we have book club, so it's never 0 books. Am I right? Never 0 books. Oh, are you talking about a different version of that? A different version of For Whom the Bell Tolls? Isn't that like there must be a new one with the same title then, because I'm thinking of something else. Oh, okay, you're talking about something totally different than what I was talking about. So the answer is no. Not only have I not read it, I haven't even heard of it. What's it about? It's not the modernist one, not the old one? Are we asleep, do we think? Not yet, okay. I think it may be because it's nice out, at least that's what I'm telling myself, that's fair. Hell's Bells. Oh, no. I keep falling asleep mid-chapter in my book. I need authors to cap chapters in 20 minutes. See, that's why I wrote my book the way that I did. Look up Hell's Bells on TikTok. Okay, I will. It's by a TikToker. Oh my gosh, I totally want to read that. That sounds fascinating. Well, someone put it in, yeah, put it in the book club chat, and we can all look into it. Yeah, I did that on purpose, Amanda. Before we get reading, I will just, for anyone who hasn't read my book or who doesn't know about it, I wrote the chapters at the length that they were because I was envisioning them like scenes in a television show. So like that's the length of them, is like I was envisioning it. I was like, okay, how would this scene end? Cap. You know what I mean? I would never let it get past the way that a show would end, for better or worse. That's how I wrote it. Anyway, that's the sitch. I had a chapter 30 pages with the first chapter. I put the book down. Right? Yeah, you're like, okay. It's about religious trauma, so you just know. Right. Maybe we should read it together. It's the best. I love it. Go for a slow reader. They're great. Yes. Is your book online on Kindle? Yes, it is. It is on Kindle, and it's on sale on Kindle right now. Actually, right. I think it's only like $2 or $3 or something like that. I don't know. I don't know if the sales ended or whatever, but I did put it on sale because there was like, you know how Kindle offers those sales every once in a while. Oh, okay, so we'll just need to read it separately. Okay, well, I will look it up. It sounds fantastic. I apologize for thinking you were talking about the other For Whom the Bell Tolls, because there is another one, you guys, and it's written by an author that I'm not a fan of. Because there is another one, you guys, and it's written by an author that I'm not a fan of, but this is something different, so I'm excited. You posted it. Thank you, Roxy. Okay, let's read. We have chapter 16 here today. Are we... We're not yet. Okay. Chapter 16 today. The blade glanced off his body armor and sliced his left upper arm. As Coriolanus leapt backwards, he swung at Bobbin, but only encountered air. He landed in a pile of debris, old boards, and plaster as his hand searched for some kind of defense. Bobbin sprang at him again, aiming the knife at his face. Coriolanus's fingers closed around a 2x4, and he brought it up, catching Bobbin hard in the temple, sending him to his knees. And then he was on his feet, using the board like a club, bringing it down again and again, without being sure where it made contact. "We have to go," Sejanus shouted, and Coriolanus could hear the catcalls now, the feet pounding down the bleachers. Confused, he made a move towards Marcus's body, but Sejanus yanked him away. "No, leave him. Run." Oh, I think we fell asleep. Okay, 8:50. Needing no persuasion, Coriolanus sprinted for the barricade. Pain shot up from his elbow to his shoulder, but he ignored it, pumping his arm as hard as he could, the way that Professor Sickle had taught them to. And when he reached the barricade, barbed wire bit into his shirt, and as he turned to pull it free, he saw them. The 2 tributes from District 4, Coral and Mizzen, and Tanner, the slaughterhouse kid, making it straight for him, armed to the teeth. Mizzen drew back his arm to throw a trident. The fabric on Coriolanus' sleeve ripped wide as he yanked it from the barbed wire and dove out of the line of fire with Sejanus right beside him. Only a few weak rays of moonlight penetrated the layer of the barricade, and Coriolanus found himself crashing into wood and fencing like a wild bird in a cage, surely alerting any tribute who somehow missed his presence before. He ran face first into a concrete slab, and Sejanus plowed into him from behind, smacking his forehead into the unrelenting surface for a second time. And when he pushed back, it was as if the concussion had never left. His head throbbed, and a cloud of confusion descended. Thank you, Amanda. I appreciate it. The tributes started up a whooping sound, rattling their weapons against the barricade as they tracked their mentors through the labyrinth. Which direction did they go? The tributes seemed to be all around them. Sejanus grabbed his arm and began to pull, and he stumbled blindly along behind, wounded and terrified. Was this it then? Was this how he would die? The fury at the injustice of it all, the mockery made of his existence, sent a surge of energy through him, and he crashed past Sejanus, finding himself on his hands and knees in a cloud of soft red light. It was the passageway. Up ahead, he could make out the turnstiles where the peacekeepers were clustered at the temporary bars. He ran for his life. FYI, she did make the audiobook, so if you skip this by scenes, you would not lose points. Okay. Great. That's awesome. I love that. That's really smart. The baby is 4.5 months old. The passageway wasn't long, but it seemed interminable. His legs rose and fell as if he were waist-high in glue, and black specks dotted his vision. Sejanus stayed steady at his elbow, but he could hear the tributes gaining. Something heavy and unyielding, a brick perhaps, clipped the side of his neck. Another object punctured his vest and stuck bobbing behind him until it fell with a clank. Where was the cover? The protective gunfire from all the peacekeepers? There was nothing at all, and the bars still stood flush with the floor. He wanted to scream for them to end the tributes, to them dead in their tracks, but his breath was too short a supply. Someone heavy-footed shrank to lead him a few yards, but once again, remembering Professor Sickles' training, he didn't dare waste a second. Looking back to see who it was, before him, the peacekeepers finally managed to tilt the unit of bars inward, achieving a gap of about 12 inches at the ground. Coriolanus dove, sanding several layers of skin off of his chin on the rough floor, and just getting his hands beneath the bars, where the peacekeepers latched onto him and gave a great yank. Lacking time to turn his head, the rest of his face scraped against the filthy surface until he reached safety. The guards dumped him immediately to retrieve Sejanus, who gave a sharp cry as Tanner's knife cut open the back of his calf before he slid out of range. The bars were slammed into place and bolts locked down the unit, and the tributes were undeterred. Tanner, Mizzen, and Coral jabbed their weapons through the bars at Coriolanus and Sejanus, spewing hate-filled taunts while the peacekeepers banged on the turnstiles with their batons. Not a shot was fired, not even a shot of pepper spray. Coriolanus realized that they must have been under orders to leave the tributes untouched, and as the peacekeepers helped him to his feet, he spat out in rage, "Thanks for having our backs. We're just following orders. Don't blame us if Gaul thinks you're expendable, boy," said the old peacekeeper who had promised him cover. "Hey, Isabella, no worries." Someone tried to steady him, but they shoved him off. I can walk, no thanks to you." He then listed sideways, almost hitting the floor before they hoisted him up again and made their way back through the lobby. Coriolanus babbled a long string of profanities which made no impression, and he hung in their grip like a dead weight until they dropped him unceremoniously just outside of the arena. After a minute, they deposited Sejanus beside him. They both lay panting on the tiles that graced the front of the arena. "I'm so sorry, Corio," Sejanus said. I'm so sorry." Corio was a nickname for old friends, for family, for people that Coriolanus loved. It was in this moment that Sejanus decided to try it out. If he had energy, Coriolanus would have reached over and strangled him. I'm gonna try to sit down because I would like to sit for once in my life. Let's see if it works. Do you think she's gonna let me sit? Do you think she's gonna let me have a sip of coffee?
Yeah.
Wiggling already. Can we just sit? What do you think if we just sit? It'd be nice for mommy to sit, huh? Let's rock. Yeah, let's rock. It's okay. No one paid them any attention. Ma had vanished. Dr. Gall and Dean Highbottom debated audio levels as they watched the feeds in the van. The peacekeepers stood in a loose clump, waiting for instructions. 5 minutes passed before an ambulance drove up and popped open its doors. The boys were loaded in without so much as a glance from the authorities. The medic gave Coriolanus a pad to hold against his arm wound while she dealt with the more pressing issue of Sejanus's calf, which was producing quite a bit of blood. Coriolanus dreaded returning to the hospital that the untrustworthy Dr. Wayne Coriolanus dreaded returning to the hospital and that untrustworthy Dr. Wayne until he saw through the small pane of glass that they'd arrived at the Citadel, which seemed twice as scary. Unloaded onto gurneys, they were swiftly transported deep down into the lab where Clemencia had been attacked, leaving Coriolanus to wonder just what modifications they had in store for him. Hey, Jamantha. Accidents must have been frequent in the lab as small medical clinics awaited them. It had lacked the sophistication for Clemencia's resurrection, and yet it seemed adequate enough to patch up the boys. A white curtain divided their 2 hospital beds, but Coriolanus could hear Sejanus giving one-word answers to the doctor's inquiries. He gave little more himself as they stitched his arm and cleaned his raw face. His head ached, but he didn't dare tell them about the rebound of his concussion, for he feared he'd end up being admitted to the hospital for an indefinite stay. All he wanted was to get away from these people, and despite his protests, they stuck an IV in his arm to rehydrate him and delivered some cocktail of drugs. He laid rigid on the bed, willing himself not to flee. Although he'd done Dr. Gall's bidding, although he'd succeeded, he felt more vulnerable than ever, and here he lay, wounded, trapped, and hidden away in their lair. Now, I just wanted to say real quick before we continue, it's interesting that this was somehow wiped from the record of Hunger Games that Katniss and Peeta were studying, And obviously I'm sure it's Snow's fault that it was wiped. Why was no one like, where's this tape? You know what I mean? The pain eased in his arms, but he did not feel the velvet curtain of morphling drawing around him. Some alternative drug must have been administered, because if anything, his mind felt a heightened sharpness, and he noticed everything from the weave of the bedsheet to the tug of the tape on his raw skin, to the bitter taste of the metal cup of water left on his tongue. Peacekeeper boots approached and withdrew, taking a limping Sejanus with them. Deep in the lab, a round of squeals heralded some creature's feeding time, and a faint scent of fish reached him. And they all just blindly followed. Yeah. After that, a relative hush fell over the place for a long time. He considered trying to slip away, but he knew in his heart that he was expected to wait for the soft slip tread of invulnerability making its way to his cubicle. When Dr. Gall pulled back the curtain, the twilight of the nocturnal lab gave Coriolanus the strange impression that she stood on the edge of a cliff, and that if he were to give her even the smallest shove, she would topple backwards into some great chasm, never to be heard from again. If only, he thought, if only. But instead she moved forward and placed 2 fingers on his wrist, checking his pulse. He flinched at the feel of her cool, papery fingers. I started out as a medical doctor, she said. Obstetrics. How awful, Coriolanus thought, to have you be the first person a baby sees in this world. It wasn't really for me, Dr. Gall said. Parents always want reassurance that you can't give about their children's future face,
How could I possibly know what they would encounter? Like you, tonight. Who would have imagined that Crassus Snow's darling baby boy fighting for his life in the capital arena? No, not him, for one. Coriolanus didn't know how to respond to this. He could barely remember his father, let alone his divine imaginings. What was it like, then, in the arena? Asked Dr. Gall. Terrifying, Coriolanus said flatly. Well, it's designed to be. She checked his pupils, shining a light into each of his eyes. And what about the tributes? That light hurt his head. Yeah, what about them? Dr. Gall moved on to his stitches. What did you think of them now that their chains have been removed, now that they've tried to end you? Because it was of no benefit to them, your death. You're not in the competition. That was true. They'd been close enough to recognize him, but they'd hunted down him and Sejanus. Sejanus, who had treated the tributes so well, who had fed them, defended them, and given them their last rites, even though they could have used that opportunity to end one another. Well, I think I underestimated how much they really hate us, said Coriolanus. Uh-oh. Is this where it changes? Is this where the moment changes? I don't remember. Oh my god. And when you realized that, what was your response? Said Dr. Gall. He thought back to Bobbin, to the escape, to the tributes, the bloodlust even after he cleared the bars. I just want them dead. I want every one of them dead. Dr. Gall nodded. Well, mission accomplished. With that little one from 8, well, anyway, you beat him to a pulp. You have to make up some story for that buffoon Flickerman to tell in the morning, but what a wonderful opportunity for you. Transformative. Really. Yeah, it's the path to fascism, right? It's interesting. It's a very interesting moment when you think about it. Was that transformative? Coriolanus remembered the sickening thuds of his boards against Bobbin. So he had what then? Murdered the boy? No, not that. It was an open and shut case of self-defense, but what then? He'd kill him, certainly. There would never be any erasing that, no regaining that innocence. He had now taken a human life. Wasn't it? More than I could have hoped for. I needed you to get Sejanus out of the arena, of course, and I wanted you to taste it as well. Even if it killed me? Asked Coriolanus. Well, without threat of death, there wouldn't have been much of a lesson, said Dr. Gall. What happened in the arena? That humanity, undressed, the tributes, and you, too. How quickly civilization disappears. All your fine manners, your education, family background, everything you pride yourself on stripped away in the blink of an eye, revealing everything that you actually are. A boy with a club who beats another boy to death. That's mankind in its natural state. The idea, laid out as such, shocked him, but he attempted a laugh. Are we really as bad as all that? Oh, I would say yes, absolutely yes, but it's a matter of personal opinion, Dr. Gall said, pulling a roll of gauze from the pocket of her lab coat. What do you think? I think I wouldn't have beaten anyone to death if you hadn't stuck me in the arena, he retorted. Oh, you can blame it on circumstances, the environment, but really, you made the choices that you made. No one else did. It's a lot to take in all at once, but it's essential that you make an effort to answer that question. Who are human beings? Because who we are determines the type of governing that we need. Later on, I hope that you can reflect on it and be honest with yourself about what you learned tonight. Dr. Gall began to wrap his wound in gauze. Oh, and a few stitches in your arm. It's a cheap price to pay for it. Coriolanus felt nauseous at her words and even more enraged that she had somehow forced him to kill for the sake of her lesson. Something that significant should have been his decision, not hers, but no one but his. All right, so if I'm a vicious animal, then who are you? You're the teacher who sent her student to beat another boy to death. Oh, yes, that role has fallen to me. She neatly finished the bandage up. You know, Dean Highbottom and I read your essay thoroughly. What you liked about the war. It was a lot of fluff. Drivel, really. Until that bit at the end. That bit about control. For your next assignment, I would like you to elaborate on that. The value of control. On what happens without it. Take your time with it, but it might be a nice addition to your prize application. Coriolanus knew what happened without control. He'd seen it recently at the zoo when Arcane died, and in the arena when the bombs went off, and then again tonight.
Oh, chaos happens. What else is there to even say about it?
Oh, there's a good deal, I think. Start with that, though. Chaos. No control, no law, no government at all. Like being in the arena, where do we go from there? What sort of agreement is necessary if we are to live in peace? What sort of social contract is required for survival? She removed the drip from his arm. We'll need you back in a couple of days to check those stitches, but until then, I would keep the night's events to yourself. Better to get home and catch up on a few hours of sleep. Remarkably, your tribute still needs you.
It absolutely is, Roxy. It absolutely is.
After she left, Coriolanus slowly pulled on his sliced, torn, and bloodied shirt, and he fastened the buttons. He wandered until he found the elevator to street level, and the disinterested guards waved him out. The trolley ended at midnight, and the Capitol clock showed 2, so he pointed his filthy shoes towards home. The Plinth's luxury car slid up beside him, and the window lowered to reveal the Avox, who stepped out and opened the back door for him. Coriolanus guessed that he had already taken Sejanus home and that Ma had sent him back. Since the car was empty of the Plinths, he got in. One last ride, and he wanted nothing to do with the family ever again. When the driver let him out of his apartment, Coriolanus was presented with a large paper bag. Before he could object, though, the car pulled away. Upstairs, he peeked in to see Tigress waiting by the tea table, wrapped in a ratty fur coat that had been her mother's. It was her security blanket as much as those rose-powdered compacts had been his before he revamped it as a weapon. He grabbed the school jacket from the coat rack and pulled it over his damaged shirt before he went in to see her. Coriolanus tried to make light of the dreadful night. Surely it's not so bad that you need the coat. Her fingers dug into the fur.
You tell me.
I will.
Oh, wait, sorry. I read that backwards. Let's try that again.
Coriolanus tried to make light of the dreadful night.
Surely it's not as bad that you actually need the coat.
Her fingers dug into the fur of it. You tell me.
I will. Every bit of it. But in the morning, okay?
He said. Okay. And when she reached up to hug him goodnight, her hand felt the bulge of the bandage on his arm. Before he could stop her, she pulled the jacket off and she saw the blood. She bit her lip. Oh, Corio, they made you go into the arena, didn't they? He hugged her.
Not really that bad. Don't worry about it. I'm here. Sejanus got out too.
Not that bad. It's horrific to think of you in there, to think of anyone in there, she cried. Oh, poor Lucy Gray. Lucy Gray. Now that he'd been in the arena for himself, her circumstances seemed more dire than before. The thought of her huddled somewhere in the cold blackness of the arena, too petrified to close her eyes even, made him ache. And for the first time, he felt glad that he had killed Bobbin. At least he had saved her from that animal.
It's gonna be okay, Tigress, but you have to let me get some rest. And honestly, you need sleep too.
She nodded, but he knew that she'd be lucky to snatch an hour or 2. He handed her the bag.
This is courtesy of Ma Plinth. Breakfast by the smell of it. See you then?
Not bothering to bathe, he collapsed into a comatose sleep, and until the sound of Grandmama singing in the anthem woke him, time to get up anyway. Aching head to toe, he teetered to the shower, removed the gauze from his arm, and let the hot water stream over his scraped flesh. He had a tube of ointment from his time in the hospital, and although he was unsure of its use, he dabbed it on his raw face and chin. The stitches on his arm snagged on his clean shirt, but no new bleeding appeared. He'd wear his jacket today just in case, throwing a toothbrush and a fresh uniform in his book bag. He took one last look in the mirror and sighed.
Bicycle accident, he thought. That's the story I'll use. Not that I've had a working bicycle in many years, but whatever.
Well, now he had an excuse for the bike's broken condition. Once he was presentable, the first thing he did was check the television to make sure that no harm had come to Lucy Gray. but the camera hadn't shifted, and the only tribute visible in the early morning light was Laminia on her beam. Avoiding the grandmamma, he came into the kitchen where Tigress was warming up the leftover jasmine tea.
Running late, he said. I better get going.
Take this for breakfast. She put a packet in his hand and placed a pair of tokens in his pocket. And take the trolley today. Needing to conserve energy, he did as he was told, riding the trolley and... Excuse me. Oh my goodness. Riding the trolley and eating 2 loaded egg and sausage rolls that Mrs. Plinth had sent over. His only regret about ditching the Plinths would be the loss of her cooking. The main student body had been told to report at 7:45, so the early birds consisted of the active mentors and a few avoxes tidying the hall. Coriolanus couldn't help throwing a guilty look at Juno Philps, who sat discussing her strategy with Domita, who said that she could have slept in. He didn't like her much when she was throwing her family's lineage in his face as if his wasn't very good at all. But last night hadn't been fair to either of them. He wondered how they could reveal Bobbin's death and how he would feel when they did so. Something besides queasy. The only thing being served at Heavensby Hall was tea, which brought grumblings from Fettus.
If we have to be here this early, you'd think they could at least feed us. What happened to your face, anyway?
Bike accident, Coriolanus said loud enough for everyone to hear. He tossed the bag with the last roll to Fettus, happy to be able to offer food for a change. He owed the Creeds more meals than he cared to remember.
Thanks, it looks great,
said Fettus, digging in immediately. Lysistrata recommended a cream to prevent infection, and they went ahead and took their seats as schoolmates began to arrive. Although the sun had been up for just a few hours, nothing much appeared or changed on the screen except the disappearance of Marcus's body.
I guess they removed it, said Pup.
But Coriolanus thought that it might still be by the barricade where he and Sejanus had abandoned it last night, just out of range of the shot. At the stroke of 8, they all rose for the anthem, which had been his classmates' finally seemed to be getting a handle on it. And then Lucky Flickerman appeared, welcoming them to day 2 of the Hunger Games.
Sorry, guys, Well, while you were sleeping, something important happened. Let's take a look at that, shall we? Something important happened. Let's take a look at that, shall we?
And they cut back to the wide shot of the arena, and they slowly panned the cameras around to the barricade, zooming in. As Coriolanus suspected, Marcus's body lay where he and Sejanus had dropped it. A few feet away, Bobbin's battered form slumped against the chunk of concrete. It looked much, much worse than he'd imagined. The bloody limbs, the dislodged eye, the face so swollen that it was unrecognizable. He had really done that to another boy, and such a young boy too. For in death, Bobbin looked thinner than ever, and tiny too. Lost in that dark web of terror, it seemed that Bobbin looked tinier than ever. Lost in that dark web of terror, it seemed he had. Perspiration beaded Coriolanus's forehead, and he wanted to leave the hall, the building, and the entire event behind. But of course that wasn't an option. Who was he anyway? Sejanus? After a good long look at the bodies, the show cut back to Lucky as he pondered who might have done the deed. And then the mood changed abruptly.
One thing we do know is that we've got a lot to celebrate.
Confetti fell from the ceiling, and Lucky blew madly away on a plastic horn.
Because we have just hit the halfway mark. That's right, 12 tributes down and only 12 to go.
A string of brightly colored handkerchiefs shot out of his hand, and he swung it around his head, dancing and cheering.
Woo-wee!
And when he finally wound down, he adopted a sad expression.
But that also means we have to say our farewells to Miss Juno Philps. Lepidus?
Lepidus had already positioned himself at the end of the suspecting Juno's aisle, and she had no choice but to join him in working through her disappointment on camera. Given little notice, Coriolanus imagined that she would have comported herself more graciously, but as it was, she came off as a sour and suspicious mentor, questioning the recent developments as she flashed a leather binder inlaid with the Phipps family crest. "Something seems fishy to me," she told Lepidus. "I mean, what's going on over there with Marcus's body? Who moved it? And how did Bobbin end up dead? I can't even imagine a likely scenario. I feel like there might have been foul play." The reporter sounded genuinely puzzled. What would qualify as foul play exactly? I mean, in the arena." "Well, I don't know exactly," steamed Juno, "but I, for one, would really like to see a replay of last night's events."
Here we go. We're about to get our explanation.
"Yeah, good luck with that," thought Coriolanus, and then he realized that it did.
"Yeah, good luck with that," thought Coriolanus,
And then he realized that it did exist in the back of the van. Dr. Gall.
Excuse me, I'm so sorry, you guys.
Dr. Gall and Dean Highbottom had been watching both versions, the real feed and the one that they darkened to obscure his mission. Even the regular one would be hard to make out. And still, he didn't like it, the idea that somewhere there was a record, however shadowy, of him killing Bobbin. If it were ever to get out, well, he just didn't know what, but it made him uneasy. Lepidus didn't dally with Juno, just a sore loser who lacked Felix's grace in defeat, but she was directed back to her seat with a consoling pat on the back. Still sparkly with confetti, Lucky seemed oblivious to her pain. He leaned in toward the camera with barely contained glee.
"And now, what do you suppose? Well, we've got an extra big surprise, especially if you're one of the 12 remaining mentors."
Coriolanus only had a moment to exchange questioning looks with his friends before Lucky bounded across the studio to reveal Sejanus sitting side by side with his father, Strabo Plinth, whose stern expression seemed to have been carved from the very granite of his home district. Lucky took the host's chair and patted Sejanus on the leg.
"Sejanus, I'm sorry we didn't get a moment with you yesterday. Let me comment on the demise of your tribute, Marcus."
Sejanus just stared at Lucky uncomprehendingly, and Lucky seemed to notice the abrasions on his face for the first time.
Hey, what seems to be going on here? You look like you've been in a mix-up yourself."
I fell off my bike," Sejanus rasped, and Coriolanus winced slightly. 2 biking mishaps in the same 12-hour period? That seemed a little more than coincidental.
"Ouch. Well, I guess you have some pretty big news to share with us,"
Lucky said with an enraging nod. Sejanus lowered his eyes for a moment, while neither father nor son acknowledged each other, and a battle seemed to be occurring between them. "Yeah," Sejanus finally began, "we, the Plinth family, would like to announce that we'll be giving a prize for a full ride to the university to the mentor whose tribute wins at the Hunger Games." Puff let out a whoop, and the other mentors grinned at one another. Coriolanus knew that most of them didn't need the money as badly as he did, if at all, but it would be further away than... I'm sorry. Wow, I am literally unable to read. Coriolanus knew that most of them didn't need the money as badly as he did, if at all, but it would be a feather in anyone's cap to win.
"Sensational," said Lucky. "What a thrill those 12 remaining mentors must be experiencing right now. Was this your idea, Strabo, to create the Plinth Prize?" It was my son's, actually,"
Strabo said, curving the edges of his lips up in what Coriolanus thought might be an attempt at a smile.
Yeah, seriously, I barely got any sleep because, Well, what a generous and appropriate gesture. Especially given Sejanus' defeat. You might not have won the games, but you've certainly taken home a prize for good sportsmanship. I think I speak for the whole capital when I say, many thanks."
Lucky beamed at the pair, but nothing was forthcoming. He made a sweeping gesture with his arms.
"All right then, well, we gotta go back to the arena."
Coriolanus' mind reeled with the new development. Sejanus had been right about his father's hasty attempt to bury his son's outrage in cash. Not that it didn't merit damage control. He hadn't heard much reaction from the others in Heavensby Hall about the outburst with the chair, but he expected that stories were going around. A prize for the victor's mentor seemed a small price to pay. Of Sejanus' trip in the arena from going public, could he be planning to buy Coriolanus' silence? Never mind that, Coriolanus told himself. The bigger news was the possibility of winning this plinth prize. It was independent of the academy, so Dean Highbottom wouldn't even have a say in it. Even Dr. Gall would not. A full ride that would free him from their power and lift this awful anxiety about the future from his shoulders. Already high, the stakes of these games shot into the stratosphere. Focus, he told himself, drawing slow, deep breaths. Focus on helping Lucy Gray. What was there to do, though, until she showed her face? As the morning passed, it seemed that few of the tributes were tempted to do so. Coral and Mizzen roamed around together for a bit, collecting food and water from Festus and Persephone. Those were their mentors. They'd been spending this time together trying to come up with a joint strategy for the tributes, and Coriolanus could see that Festus was falling for her. Did you tell your best friend his crush was a cannibal? Never rule out... Sorry, there's... This is good, so I need to read it properly. They'd been spending time together trying to come up with a joint strategy for their tributes, and Coriolanus could see that Festus was falling for her. Did you tell your best friend that his crush was a cannibal? There's never a rule book when you need one. When they returned to the dais after lunch, they found the mentors' seats had been reduced to 12, leaving only enough space for the tributes still in the games. The game maker requested it, Satria told the final dozen. It makes it easier for the audience to keep track of who is in the game. I know, I really need to chug that coffee. Like musical chairs, said Domita with a pleased look. I did it again. I absolutely did it again. The game makers requested it, Satria told the final dozen. It makes it easier for the audience to keep track of who is still in the contender, who is still a contender. We're going to keep removing chairs as your tributes are killed. Like musical chairs, said Domita with a pleased look. Yeah, but with people dying, said Lysistrata. The decision to bump the losers from the dais made Livia even more bitter, if that was even possible, and Coriolanus was glad to see it. I do need to take a sip of coffee. Sorry. I don't know, my brain just isn't functioning because I haven't had any sleep. Let's keep trying. Coriolanus was glad to see her relegated to the regular audience section where he wouldn't have to hear her snarky comments anymore. Sort of, Brittany, but I think she's just jet-lagged. Yeah, it's postpartum and jet lag and everything all rolled into one. On the other hand, it made it harder to put distance between himself and Clemencia, who seemed to spend all her free time glaring at him. He positioned himself in the last row, bolstered by Festus and Lysistrata, and tried to look engaged. As the afternoon rolled on, his head got heavier and heavier, until Lysistrata had to nudge him twice to keep him awake. Relatable content. Perhaps it was fortunate that the day required so little of him, given that the night had almost killed him. There were a few tribute sightings, and Lucy Gray had stayed completely hidden. Not until the late afternoon did the Hunger Games finally present the kind of action that people expected. The girl tribute from District 5, a rickety little thing who had been one of the unwashed herd to Coriolanus, made her way out onto the bleachers at the far end of the arena. Failing to find her name, Lucky just managed to connect her with the equally forgettable mentor, Iphigenia Moss, whose father oversaw the agriculture department, and thus the flow of food around Panem. Contrary to expectations, Iphigenia always seemed on the verge of malnutrition, given her school lunch to her classmates and even blacking out on occasion. Clemencia once told Coriolanus that it was the only revenge she could take on her father, but she refused to give any more details. That's very interesting. True to form, Iphigenia began to unload every bit of food that she could onto her tribute, but even as the drones made the long trek across the arena, Mizzen, Coral, and Tanner, who appeared to have formed some sort of pack after the previous night's adventures, materialized from the tunnel and began their hunt. After a brief chaos along the bleachers, the trio surrounded that girl, and Coral killed her with the trident at her throat.
Well, that's that then, said Lucky, still unable to locate the tribute's name. What can we call her mentor? What can they tell us, Lepidus?
Iphigenia had already sought out Lepidus. Her name was Sol, or maybe it was Sal. She had a funny accent. I'm not sure. There's not much more to tell. Lepidus seemed inclined to agree.
Well, nice job getting her to the second half, Albania.
Iphigenia, said Iphigenia over her shoulder as she walked off the dais.
That's right, said Lepidus, and that means there's only 11 tributes left.
Which means 10 between me and that prize, thought Coriolanus as he watched an Avox remove Iphigenia's chair. He wished that he could get food and water to Lucy Gray. What would happen if he sent it without knowing her location? On screen, the pack collected Sol, or maybe Sal's, food and moved towards the tunnels, probably to get some rest before the night came. Should he risk it now? He discussed it before the night came. Should he risk it now? He discussed it in whispers with Lysistrata, who felt that it might be worth a try if they sent drones in together. We don't want them to get too weak and dehydrated. I don't think that Jessup's got anything down in days. Let's wait and see if they try and contact us, but let's give them until supper break. But Lucy Gray made an entrance just as the student body was released to go home. She darted out of a tunnel, running at full pitch, her hair loosening from the braids and flying free behind her. Where's Jessup? Lysistrata asked with a frown. Why aren't they together? Before Coriolanus could venture a guess, Jessup staggered out of the same tunnel that Lucy Gray had fled from, and at first Coriolanus thought that he had been wounded, possibly while defending Lucy Gray. But then, what accounted for her flight? Were there other tributes in pursuit? And as the camera moved in on Jessup, it became apparent that he was still ill, not hurt. Stiff-limbed and feverish with excitement, he swiped at the sun a few times before crouching down and springing almost immediately back to his feet for his first close-up. Coriolanus wondered if Lucy Gray had found a way to poison him, but that didn't make sense. Jessup was too valuable as a protector, especially with that pack that formed last night running around. What, then, had ailed him? Any number of things could have sickened him. At any range of maladies had been suspected. If it hadn't been for the telltale foam that began to bubble over his lips. He's rabid, Lysistrata said softly. Oof. Rough chapter.
All right, so I am sorry for how roughly I read that. I obviously was too tired to be reading like a normal person. But that was a rough chapter indeed. I think it can only get worse for them from here. You know what I mean? All right, so what's going on today? Today, it's true, better for them than most. That is true. That's a very good point. Very good point. I will see if I can get on later this afternoon to do some sliming, because I do need to do some. But today is our anniversary, so we are going out to dinner. Ooh, sore throat in the summer. No good. No good. Hello. So, yeah. I will be packing up Slime of the Month today to mail out to people. Anyone who's getting a roll for slime tomorrow that gets the Slime of the Month, it will mail with that. Anyone who's not getting those, it'll mail possibly today. Thank you very much. Yes, roll for slime is tomorrow. It's Disney Blind Box, I think. I don't really know. Anyway, I will get that list made for everyone, and yes, okay, it is. That's exciting. I'm glad that I remembered properly. Thank you all for the happy anniversary wishes.
5 p.m. That's right. We're gonna kill it. It's gonna be great. What else? I don't know. That's kind of the whole kit and caboodle, right? I need to make all the lists and stuff. I'll be there for Saturdays. We have a wedding tomorrow. Oh, that's exciting. What are you wearing? I'm not, obviously, I don't think it's your wedding. I'm pretty sure you're already married. Thank you. They came out pretty nice, right? Is it someone close to you, Nikki? Are you wearing something fancy? You're gonna post a picture for us? I love weddings, actually. Big lists. Have you seen the comment section? I know, that's why we added more days. Yeah, it's a lot of people. Big lists. But obviously the lists for tomorrow are a little different because it's just like, you can roll for one thing. I have no idea, believe it or not, it's my ex-fiance's wedding. That's hilarious. I'm excited to hear that you're on good terms. That's kind of cool. I like it when people stay, you know, on good terms. I like it. I do. Yeah. Not me, Disney. Right, Amanda? So anyway, lots of stuff will mail today. I got down to 30 DMs yesterday. I don't know what we're back up to today, but I will try to do more today. And that's it. I wish my mom would have went to my dad's wedding. Are they split? He danced with my husband at ours. That I loved her first. That's funny. That is very funny. Me by proxy. That's fair. It's very cute. Very cute, Nikki. I love it. I love it. That's very sweet. I saw a video the other day that was a guy shaving the side of a woman's head. Like, he was a barber, obviously, or at least knew how to do barbing. Like, it said, "What do you mean your ex-husband doesn't fix your undercut for when your girlfriend's coming into town?" And I was like, that is, it's a good relationship, you know? Yeah, they got divorced 8 years ago, last 8 years. Oh, I'm so sorry, Isabella. That's always hard. I understand. Yeah, it was a very cute video. So anyway, I will see you all later. Have fun at the wedding, Nikki, but I'll probably see you tomorrow morning for book club before then, so no stress there. Like I said, I'll try to get online later. Oh, that's not good, Isabella. That's not good at all. I can't say that word on here. But I will try to get on later for a regular slime live, because we got to make more base, because we got a lot of roll for slimes. We need a lot of base. Thank you. No, I totally understand, Isabella. We all get it. Bye, guys.